What if the answer to your fatigue, your foggy thinking, your restless nights, and your constant stress was never in a pill bottle? What if it was growing? Right now, somewhere in a garden center near you, there are plants sitting quietly on shelves that have been healing human bodies for thousands of years. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. Literally changing the chemistry of the air you breathe, the quality of your sleep, the sharpness of your mind, and the steadiness of your mood. Most people walk right past them. Here's what's wild. The average person spends hundreds of dollars every year on supplements, diffusers, sleep aids, and wellness gadgets. Yet nature already engineered the solution long before any of those products existed. Ancient healers knew it. And now, modern science is finally catching up. 20 plants. That's all it takes. 20 specific plants that don't just sit there looking pretty. They work. Quietly, consistently, around the clock. Some of them clean your air while you sleep. Some of them reduce your stress response simply by being in the room. One of them, the one being saved for last, has been called a complete health system by Ayurvedic practitioners for over 5,000 years. And when its full story is revealed at the end of this, it will completely change how anyone thinks about what belongs inside a home. But that's not where this starts. This starts with the plants that target something most people are silently suffering through every single day: brain fog, mental exhaustion, that thick, heavy feeling that no amount of coffee seems to fix, the kind of fatigue that isn't about sleep. It's about the environment. Because here's something most people never consider. The space around a person affects the mind just as much as anything put into the body. Hi viewers, do you currently have any plants inside your home, yes or no? Drop it in the comments right now. Now, the first plant on this list is one most people already associate with the kitchen. But what happens when it's moved to a desk, a workspace, or a windowsill where it's seen and touched every single day changes everything about how it's understood. Rosemary, that sharp, piney, unmistakable scent, isn't just pleasant. It's neurologically active. Studies have demonstrated that simply inhaling the aroma of rosemary can measurably improve memory retention and mental focus. It stimulates cognitive clarity in a way that feels almost immediate. That afternoon slump, the one that hits hard around 2 or 3 in the day, when concentration starts to dissolve and the mind starts drifting. A brief moment of brushing fingers through rosemary leaves and breathing in deeply can genuinely shift that. It's not folklore, it's chemistry. And rosemary indoors asks for almost nothing in return. Bright light, well-drained soil. That's the entire agreement. But mental clarity is only one piece of what the body needs. Because for millions of people, the real thief isn't distraction. It's stress. It's the low hum of anxiety that never fully shuts off. And for that, nature has something even more powerful waiting: lavender. Not as an oil, not as a candle, as a living, breathing plant placed directly in the space where the night happens. The science behind lavender's effect on the nervous system is genuinely striking. Its aroma has been shown to lower heart rate, reduce cortisol activity, and promote the kind of deep, restorative sleep that most people haven't experienced in years. Imagine lying down and instead of reaching for a phone, instead of cycling through the mental checklist of everything unfinished, the fingers brush a few lavender leaves on the nightstand. One slow breath in. That's the reset. That's the nervous system being told, without words, without effort, that it's safe to slow down. Give it sunlight. Don't overwater it. Let it do what it was built to do. And then there's chamomile. Most people only know it as a tea, but growing it indoors brings something the tea bag never could. That soft, apple-like calm that fills a room when chamomile is nearby is a living aromatherapy experience, available every single hour of the day. Bedrooms, reading corners, meditation spaces. Anywhere the body needs permission to release tension, chamomile earns its place. Harvest the flowers fresh. Brew them the same evening. There's something deeply grounding about that kind of connection to a living thing. 3 plants in. And already the mind is clearer, the nervous system is quieter, and the night ahead looks more restful. But here's the thing about this list. It's only getting more powerful from here. Because mental clarity and stress relief, as valuable as they are, don't address what might be the most invisible threat inside the average home. Something that's been building up quietly, day after day, affecting focus, affecting breathing, affecting energy in ways that are almost impossible to trace without knowing where to look. The air itself. And the next group of plants on this list, they were built specifically to fix it. Most people assume the air inside their home is safe, clean, neutral. It isn't. Indoor air can carry mold spores, airborne toxins, and microscopic particles that accumulate over time without a single visible sign. No smell, no color. Just a slow, quiet drag on energy, breathing, and mental sharpness that most people chalk up to stress or aging or simply having a busy life. It's none of those things. And the spider plant is where the correction begins. This trailing, unpretentious plant is one of the most effective air quality improvers available to anyone. It works quietly in the background, pulling toxins from the surrounding air and releasing clean oxygen back into the space. The result is felt before it's ever understood. Cleaner air means more oxygen reaching the brain. More oxygen means sharper thinking, less fatigue, and that persistent low-level fog that follows people through their days starts to thin. There's something else about the spider plant worth knowing. It's nearly impossible to neglect into failure. It grows in no light. It forgives missed watering. For anyone who has ever felt the quiet guilt of watching a plant slowly decline, the spider plant removes that entirely. And those cascading baby plants it produces over time carry their own kind of visual joy. But spider plants address general air quality. What about something more specific? What about the people dealing with allergies, with sinus pressure, with the kind of breathing discomfort that makes certain seasons feel almost unbearable? That's where English ivy steps in. English ivy has a documented ability to reduce airborne mold particles in enclosed spaces. Mold spores, invisible and relentless, are one of the leading causes of chronic allergy symptoms and respiratory discomfort indoors. By actively filtering them from the air, English ivy creates a measurably cleaner breathing environment. This is why it appears so frequently in recovery spaces and medical settings. It isn't decoration in those places, it's function. Moderate light, consistent moisture. That's what English ivy asks for. What it gives back is air that the lungs can actually work with. And then there's the peace lily. Elegant, white-bloomed, and quietly extraordinary. Dry indoor air is responsible for far more physical discomfort than most people realize. Headaches that arrive without obvious cause, sinus pressure that lingers for days, a persistent dryness in the throat that no amount of water seems to resolve. The peace lily addresses all of it by releasing natural moisture into the air through transpiration, raising humidity levels organically, without machines, without electricity, without maintenance beyond the basics. It even signals its own needs. When a peace lily droops slightly, it's asking for water. No guesswork, no second guessing, just an honest, living communication between plant and person. Keep it in indirect light, water it when it asks, let it breathe life into the room. And then comes the rubber plant, large, glossy-leaved, and carrying a presence in any room that feels almost architectural. The rubber plant improves air humidity further, supporting respiratory comfort during dry months. But its most underappreciated quality is psychological. Those oversized leaves and that solid, anchored form create a grounding effect in spaces that feel chaotic or overstimulating. In a world that never fully stops demanding attention, having something so visually stable and unhurried in a room quietly encourages the nervous system to follow its lead. Slow down, breathe, be here. 4 plants. And the air in any space is already transforming. But cleaner air is only solving part of the problem, because for millions of people, The real crisis happens after dark. The moment the lights go out and a mind refuses to follow. The hours that should be restorative, becoming something else entirely. The next chapter of this list exists entirely for the night. Sleep is not just rest, it is repair. Every system in the human body depends on the quality of those hours in the dark. The immune system rebuilds, the brain consolidates memory, the nervous system resets, and when sleep is shallow, fragmented, or elusive, everything suffers. Mood, focus, patience, physical health. All of it quietly degrades in ways that feel like personality rather than biology. But the bedroom environment matters more than most people ever consider, and the snake plant is the first place to start fixing it. Here is the detail that stops most people cold when they first hear it. The snake plant is one of the very few plants on Earth that releases oxygen at night rather than during the day. While most plants reverse their gas exchange process after dark, the snake plant keeps producing. Place one beside the bed, and the air being breathed during the most vulnerable hours of the night becomes measurably richer. That's not a small thing. Its upright, structured leaves carry a visual calm that's hard to explain but immediately felt. Clean lines, quiet geometry. It brings a sense of order to space that invites the mind to release rather than ruminate. It removes airborne toxins. It regulates humidity, and it asks for almost nothing. Water it occasionally, give it indirect light. Let it work through the night while everything else goes still. Then there's aloe vera. Most people know it for sunburns. But aloe is far older and far more complex than its modern reputation suggests. For centuries across cultures, it has carried a symbolic association with healing that runs deeper than any single application. The gel inside its leaves addresses skin irritation, inflammation, and physical discomfort with compounds that science has repeatedly validated. But here's the dimension that rarely gets discussed. There is a psychological comfort in proximity to something known to heal. Knowing that a plant capable of real, immediate relief is sitting within reach creates a quiet sense of security. It's subtle, but it's real. The mind responds to its environment in ways that go far beyond the conscious. Having a healer in the room changes something about how safe the room feels. Low maintenance, a little light, very little water. Aloe vera repays that minimal investment many times over. The jade plant brings something different entirely. Cultures across Asia have kept jade plants in homes and businesses for generations, not merely for aesthetics, but for the psychological signal their form communicates. Those thick, rounded leaves visually represent abundance and stability. And research in environmental psychology suggests that surrounding spaces with symbols of stability and groundedness genuinely influences how people approach difficulty. The jade plant is a quiet confidence builder. It sits, it thrives. It grows slowly and steadily over years. There is something deeply reassuring about a plant that operates on that kind of timeline, in a world that rewards urgency and punishes patience. And then there's the ZZ plant. Waxy, architectural. Completely unbothered by neglect. The ZZ plant has a grounding presence that experienced plant owners consistently describe as almost personality-like. It doesn't demand, it doesn't perform. It simply exists, with a kind of rooted solidity that anchors a room. For environments that feel chaotic, for people whose lives involve constant noise and demand, having something that requires almost nothing while radiating such steady calm is genuinely valuable. Water it rarely. Give it low to moderate light. Let it be the most stable thing in the room. 4 plants for the night. 4 plants for the hours when the body is most vulnerable and most in need of support. But the night eventually ends, and what follows it is where so many people struggle most. The day. Specifically the middle of it. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how long a person slept. It arrives somewhere between noon and 3 in the afternoon. Motivation dissolves. Concentration scatters. The simplest tasks start requiring effort that feels disproportionate to their actual difficulty. This is where the next group of plants operates. Mint does not ease anyone gently into wakefulness. It announces itself. That sharp, clean, unmistakable scent is neurologically activating in a way that is both immediate and measurable. The aroma of mint has been shown to reduce mental fatigue, improve reaction time, and create a sense of respiratory clarity that functions almost like a system reboot. No caffeine, no crash afterward. Just a brush of the fingers across the leaves, and one deliberate breath in. The reset happens that quickly. Growing mint indoors requires almost no expertise, though one honest warning applies. Mint grows enthusiastically. It will spread if given the opportunity. Trim it regularly, and it produces abundantly, which means that energy-restoring moment is available any time the afternoon starts to feel heavier than it should. Pothos follows, and its contribution operates on two levels simultaneously. On the surface, pothos is an air quality plant. It improves the oxygen content of indoor spaces, which directly supports the kind of mental sharpness that the afternoon tends to erode. But its deeper value is psychological. Those long cascading vines keep growing through every condition. Low light, occasional neglect, inconsistent care, pothos persists regardless. For anyone navigating a difficult season of life, there is something quietly powerful about watching a plant do exactly that every single day. Resilience made visible. The geranium brings mood into the conversation, not in a vague, decorative sense. The aroma produced by geranium leaves has been recognized in traditional wellness practices across multiple cultures for its specific effect on emotional stability. It is neither sedating nor stimulating. It sits precisely in the space between, providing the kind of emotional steadiness that makes a difficult day feel navigable rather than overwhelming. Mood swings, emotional reactivity. That raw, exposed feeling that sometimes arrives without obvious reason. Geranium addresses all of it through something as simple as scent in a living space. Good light, well-drained soil, beautiful flowers as a bonus. The geranium earns every inch of the space it occupies, and the bamboo palm brings the chapter to a close with something unexpected. Research and observation both point to the same phenomenon. In the presence of a bamboo palm, breathing naturally slows and deepens, not through any conscious effort, not through instruction, simply through the organic, flowing visual quality of the plant itself. Those soft arching fronds moving gently in air currents trigger something in the nervous system that bypasses thought entirely. The body just breathes better. In office spaces, in living rooms, in any environment that carries the hard edges of modern life, a bamboo palm softens what feels rigid and invites what the body has been trying to do all along. 4 plants. And the most draining part of the average day just became genuinely manageable. But there are still plants remaining on this list, and the final group operates on a level that goes beyond energy, beyond mood, beyond air and sleep and stress. These last plants touch something deeper, and the one waiting at the very end of this list, it has been called a pharmacy, a sanctuary, and a sacred guardian, all at once. The calathea doesn't just occupy space, it performs. Its leaves move throughout the day, rising and falling with the light, in a rhythm that mirrors something almost biological. The patterns on those leaves, intricate, layered, endlessly detailed, do something to the human mind that is both simple and profound. They pull attention into the present moment. Not forcefully, not dramatically, just quietly, insistently. The calathea asks to be noticed, and in that noticing, something shifts. The mental chatter slows. The awareness narrows from the 1,000 things demanding attention to this one leaf, this one pattern, this one moment. That is mindfulness, not as a practice requiring discipline or training, but as a natural response to beauty that is complex enough to hold focus. In a world engineered to fragment attention, the calathea restores it. It requires consistent care, humidity, indirect light, regular moisture, and many people find that the ritual of that care becomes its own form of mindfulness practice, tending to something living. being present with it, letting the rest of the world pause for those few minutes. The Boston fern serves the body more directly. During winter months, when indoor heating pulls moisture from the air with relentless efficiency, the Boston fern pushes back. It is among the most powerful natural humidifiers available in plant form. That restored moisture relieves the dry, uncomfortable tightness in the chest and sinuses that so many people simply accept as a seasonal reality. It doesn't have to be accepted. Consistent moisture and indirect light keep a Boston fern thriving. And a thriving Boston fern keeps the respiratory system comfortable through the harshest months of the year. Eucalyptus arrives next, and arrives with force. When an indoor-appropriate variety is placed correctly in a living space, the effect on the airways is immediate and unmistakable. That signature clearing sensation, the one familiar to anyone who has ever used eucalyptus during illness, becomes a daily experience rather than a sick day remedy. Mental fog clears, breathing deepens, the head feels lighter. Placement matters with eucalyptus. It is potent. The right variety in the right spot delivers an experience that no synthetic product convincingly replicates. And now the list arrives at its final destination. Plant number 20, holy basil, tulsi. In Sanskrit, the name carries meaning that translates roughly as the incomparable one. That is not poetic exaggeration. It is a description that 5,000 years of consistent use has earned. Tulsi is classified as an adaptogen. That single word carries enormous weight. An adaptogen is a substance that helps the body regulate its own stress response, not by suppressing it, not by numbing it, but by making the body more capable of handling whatever arrives, more flexible, more resilient, more balanced at a biological level. The compounds within tulsi have been studied for their effects on the immune system, on respiratory health, on mental clarity, and on the kind of deep emotional steadiness that most people spend their entire lives chasing through external means. People who keep tulsi in their homes, who drink its leaves as tea, who tend to it with the reverence it has historically received, consistently describe feeling more centered, more capable, more equipped to meet difficulty without being undone by it. In India, tulsi is kept near the entrance of homes. It is the first thing seen when leaving, and the first thing returning to. There is a spiritual dimension to that tradition that transcends any single religion or practice. The underlying message is universal. This plant protects what happens inside these walls. Modern research is not finished with tulsi. New studies continue to emerge, but what they are finding consistently validates what ancient knowledge encoded long ago. This plant is not decoration. It is not a trend. It is a living health system that asks only for sunlight, warmth, and consistent watering in return for benefits that touch every dimension of human well-being. 20 plants. 20 opportunities to change something real about the quality of daily life, the air in the home, the quality of sleep, the sharpness of the mind, the steadiness of mood, the resilience of the body under pressure. None of it requires a dramatic overhaul. None of it requires significant expense. It requires only the decision to bring one living thing into the space and let it begin its quiet work. Start with one. Place it somewhere visible. Tend to it. Watch what changes. And if this journey, through the healing power of plants, has sparked something, there is far more waiting. Because next time, exploration goes even deeper. Into plants that ancient healers used, specifically for one of the most common yet most overlooked health struggles of modern life. A struggle that affects focus, mood, physical comfort, and longevity all at once. The specific plant at the center of that next conversation has been used in traditional medicine on 4 separate continents, independently of one another. Same plant, same discovery, thousands of miles and thousands of years apart. That is not coincidence. That is nature trying to tell humanity something it cannot afford to keep ignoring. If this video added something to the day, leave a thumbs up. It takes 1 second, and it helps more people find their way to this information. Subscribe if the next video is something that cannot be missed. And drop a comment right now answering this. Which one of these 20 plants is coming home first? The community is reading every single response. The answer might just inspire someone else to make the same decision.